moves on, though, full speed ahead. Whoa, what a right hand that was.
It was, wasn't it?
And another one right on the side of the jaw.
I think Lombardi has run out of gas. Oh,
the genius in the middle of the ring. And whoa, all the way to the outside. Now, what was the purpose for that?
And it's Christie now outside the ring. Look at this. Poffo off the top rope.
Hello again, wrestling fans. My name is Lanny Poffo. Welcome to the first video of Poetry in Motion. The topic is my father, the late Angelo Poffo, who passed away March 4th, 2010. Now, these are my grandparents, two Italian immigrants from Tuscany, Silvio Poffo and Egiatina Lencioni. They came on the boat in 1920, hailing from a town called Lucca, Italy. This is the only time my father was photographed in the nude. And here's my dad in his sailor suit, where he was a pharmacist mate in the Navy during World War II. And this is me standing next to one of several plaques that I had made from his appearance in Ripley's Believe It or Not. This one is 72 inches tall and 48 inches wide. Now, after he was honorably discharged from the Navy, he went to DePaul University on the GI Bill, and this is his graduation picture. Now, when he was in DePaul, he met, fell in love, and married my mommy, Judy Swerdlin, June 5th, 1949. They were married almost 61 years, and they had 2 sons. Now, my father's wrestling career took him all over the world, and he paved the way for his 2 little jabronis. I'd like to thank everybody for the outpouring of sympathy and support, especially my very good friend and webmaster, Mr. Jeff Docherty, who lost his father almost 5 years ago. Jeff, you're in Prince Edward Island. Tell me, what's up?
Thanks, Lanny. I'm coming to you today from beautiful Knox's Dam, just outside of Montague, Prince Edward Island. And our topic today on the debut video edition of Poetry in Motion, or Who's Slaving Who, is one that's very important to all of us, fathers. Now, as many of you know, Lanny lost his father in early March. And although Angelo lived into his 80s, it certainly doesn't make it any easier to have to say goodbye to a loved one, especially a parent. I, too, know the pain of losing a father, as this coming May 13th will mark the 5-year anniversary of my father's passing. Now, the reason I've chosen this beautiful location today is because this is where my father used to take me as a child. We'd come here and go fishing, throw rocks in the water, collect leaves, and just sit around and listen to the wonderful sounds of the waterfall and the rushing water. Now, it's these special memories that get me through some of the toughest days since losing my dad. And there have been many over the past 5 years. But as each year goes by, it does get easier, and it does make me feel good to come to special places like this that I shared so many memories of with my father. Now, speaking of special memories, I'm going to send it back to you, Lanny, with a special memory of your own. If you'd share with us your poem about your father. Take it away, Lanny.
Well, thank you very much, Jeff. It was back in 1945 on Independence Day that Nazis had surrendered. Japan was on its way. My dad was in the Navy. As history will tell, as he was bleeding through the mats, a world record fell. He did 6,000 sit-ups with an extra 33 to glorify our Savior who died for you and me. And Robert Ripley's feature celebrated this event. Giving credence to success is not an accident. That's always been his motto through times both good and bad. He's a real Hall of Famer and the world's greatest dad.
Thank you for sharing that beautiful poem with us, Lanny. A very fitting and moving tribute to your father, the one and only Angelo Poffo. I hope that someday soon you might write a poem in tribute to my dad, so that I can share with the world just what a wonderful father my dad, Glenn Docherty, truly was. Now, I'd like to speak to you for a moment on a topic that's very important, but all too often overlooked. That's the importance of saying I love you to those that are special and near to you. All too often I've had friends who have lost a loved one come to me and say, I wish I'd had one more chance to say I love you before they passed away. And unfortunately, if you don't, that's regret you're going to have for the rest of your life, and you can't ever change it. So please, always say I love you to your loved ones, every chance you get. I'm very fortunate in the fact that 5 years ago when my father passed, The very last words my father heard me say to him were, "I love you, Dad." And the last words I heard from my dad just days before he passed were, "I love you, dear." That's something that my family has always put strong emphasis on from the time that I can remember. We always say, "I love you." We always give a hug and a kiss goodbye. That never changes, and that's something that I don't have a regret for the rest of my life, and I hope you won't have to either. Whether it's my mom, my sister, or husband, and right down to my nephews, I always say I love you before I leave, because you never know if you may not ever have a chance to say it again. So please take that chance. Do it every time you can. Don't carry that regret for the rest of your lives. Now we're going to send it back out to Lanny, who's at the beach.
There's an old saying, there are no atheists in foxholes. But when you're out in the middle of the South Pacific, and there's kamikazes everywhere, it's 1945 and you're only 20 years old. There are also no atheists on board ship. Well, he did 6,000 sit-ups, and he followed it up with an extra 33 in gratitude for the life of Jesus, one for every year of the life of his Savior. And I believe that says it all.
It sure does say it all, Lanny. And speaking of saying it all, that's going to bring to a close our debut video edition of Poetry in Motion. Be sure to join us next week right here on Who's Slamming Who for another exciting episode. For your host, the genius Lanny Poffo, I'm Jeff Docherty. See you next week.
And what happened then, Genius?
The Genius was victorious. And you know what I've noticed?
What's that?
Two things since my victory over Hulk Hogan.
What?
False friends and true enemies.
Oh, really? Everybody jealous of you, in other words, huh?
Can you blame them?
During his 21 years in the ring, Poffo's talents became more verbal and less physical. He wrote 2 books, not about life in the squared circle, but marketed towards children, which brings us to his current life.
They love him, they respect him, and they admire him, and they know that he cares about each and every one of them, and in his pursuit to have them grow and become non-smokers and not use drugs. They absolutely love him.